because I've seen some very interesting signs over the past week that the number one and the number two guys at the FBI both appear to be very, very interested in Bitcoin. And a lot of people are asking the question, what does the FBI potentially know about Bitcoin that we don't? Because the number one newly elected FBI director is this gentleman right here, Kash Patel. It's been revealed in some court filings that he owns well over $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. And I thought, okay, that's cool. That's interesting. But I wasn't that interested in it until I saw the next headline. And that is the fact that the number two guy at the FBI is not only a podcaster, but he's also very, very bullish on Bitcoin. So I'm talking about this gentleman here called Dan Bongino, and he has a history of being very, very bullish on Bitcoin and publicly tweeting things like this. This is the whole tweet. X, Truth, Rumble, and Bitcoin. So we now have the number one and the number two guy at the FBI, I didn't mean to make that rhyme, openly bullish on Bitcoin. What do you think about this current administration, Rob, and what this could potentially signal for the future of Bitcoin in America?
It's good signs, right? Kash Patel, definitely a tough guy. Same with this Bongino. He's former Secret Service. So Kash Patel, I believe his story, he was working as security in some regard, head of the forces that were there for January 6th. He asked Nancy Pelosi if he could bring in these extra security measures and whatnot, and he was halted from doing so. And then when he tried to speak up about it, he was persecuted, and he had to go through a bunch of crap over the last couple of years. But he's been resurrected and put in top of the FBI, and now he's coming back with a vengeance, and he wants his sweet revenge. But yeah, I mean, he seems pretty based. He's a Bitcoiner. I sent you that video. That'd be great to play, of him actually talking about the Federal Reserve. That was pretty shocking, even more so than the fact that he owns 100K in Bitcoin ETFs and 100K in Bitcoin miner stock.
Yeah, so this is the one that you tweeted out from the Bitcoin News Twitter account. I won't play it because I didn't get the chance to download it, but this is the FBI director. This is a direct quote. The Federal Reserve is not a public government entity. It's a private entity manipulating currency to their advantage, and that needs to be tackled. This is the director of the FBI, who sounds like a Bitcoin maximalist. This is pretty crazy, Rob. That one that you tweeted out, it caught the attention of a lot of people. I mean, that got 8,000 likes. So obviously this is catching the attention of the cultural zeitgeist. People are saying, hang on a minute, we might finally have an administration who understands reality. They understand economics. They're questioning the Federal Reserve and their ability to print money out of thin air. This is obviously very rare, something we haven't really seen in a long time in America, and it's certainly an optimistic and bullish thing that we are seeing develop in the West.
Yeah, it seems as if we've entered this new era of routing out corruption, or at least bringing the dark to light and trying to, as he said, tackle the biggest issues that have been lingering for over a century now, between Elon and Doge, Kash Patel calling out the Federal Reserve, Trump saying that he's going to go to Fort Knox with Elon and inspect if the gold is actually there. He keeps hinting at the fact that the gold has been stolen. Trump said this at CPAC. He said it again today when he was in a press conference with the French president, Macron. He's like, we're going to go to Fort Knox and we're going to see if the gold is stolen. Wouldn't that be crazy if the gold is stolen? Like, what is he priming us for, right? Like, what is going on here? Why is all that gold leaving the London vaults and heading back to New York? Why is this repatriation of gold happening around the world? So yes, it does seem as if we are in this phase shift, right? This age of Aquarius has just opened up, and we are going to show all the badness that's been going on behind the scenes. Are people ready for it? I don't know. We are in the game of education and trying to open people's eyes to what's going on, especially when it comes to money and Bitcoin and finance. But there's a lot of bad stuff that's been buried for years. And is the world ready for it?
I don't know whether the world is ready to see it. I think there's always going to be individuals suffering from Stockholm syndrome, and they're always going to love their governments and those who they consider to be the experts and the portrayers of truth. But then we live in this alternative world where it looks as if truth is spreading everywhere. And I really like this tweet that you sent me, Rob, from Stephen Lubka at Swan. And he says here, Bitcoin has decided long ago to invest heavily in, let's say, regarded podcasters who hate the government. Many people criticized this strategy and said it made no sense. However, the government is now run by said podcasters who hate the government. Checkmate. I love that tweet. I think it is interesting. It has a little bit of a truthful undertone to it, despite it being a little bit humorous. And it is the fact that we now have podcasters in high positions of power. That's who this man is. I'm just going to call him Dan. I'm going to let you pronounce his last name, Rob. But Dan is a podcaster. That is literally who he is. I also saw a funny tweet here by Pierre Richard, and he said, myth, government will ban Bitcoin. Reality, Bitcoin podcasters will take over government. And this is exactly what's happening. It's crazy. Trump names podcaster to be the second in command at the FBI. What are your thoughts on this potential little bit of a revolution we are seeing unfold here, Rob? And people with microphones, and they seem to be, elected in all sorts of high positions of power all around the world.
Yeah, I mean, as Elon says, we are the media now, right? People listen and people trust these podcasters and whatnot more than the mainstream media, and rightfully so. Dan Bongino here, he is a podcaster, yes, quote unquote, but he does have the goods to back it up. He was in the Secret Service, and he had a show on Fox for a long time before being, I don't know if he got kicked off of Fox or he quit, but yeah, he started his own podcast and then got put into this role after that. But he seems, I looked up some clips from his time on Fox, and he's had multiple debates actually between Patrick Bet-David and Peter Schiff on gold versus Bitcoin. I think he himself, he might have been sponsored by some gold sellers and whatnot. So he's been a big gold bug for a while now. But yeah, it's interesting times, and the internet is technology has always allowed for the spread of freedom, right? From the printing press, ending the control of, or the combination of state and church, and now the internet, hopefully being the end of the combination of state and money. And we are using the internet to spread the word.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It makes a lot of sense. I like the parallels between that revolution in the 1500s you mentioned with the separation of church and state. I feel like, the Bitcoin revolution, and in combination with what the internet started, I feel like it is going to do something very similar to what we saw 500 years ago. And that is separation and democratization of information for all. And I think, the fact that we are seeing podcasters elected as the number 2 man at the FBI, I think it's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy how far the world has come, and how online discourse is all of a sudden changing how we not only see politics, but we also see the markets. And that kind of gets me into something else I wanted to discuss, Rob. And that's the fact that markets all around the world could be showing signs that some interesting things could be happening.